The wing T is not a formation, and it's not certain plays. And I think too many times coaches confuse it with a formation. The ideal is that the wing T is going to run a play to put a defender in conflict, and if that defender makes decision A, then they have a play to run it if he makes decision A. If that player makes decision B, then they have another play that they run. So it's all about isolating certain defenders and putting them in conflict. And so there's a series of football. So you understand that offensive coordinator you're playing, he's calling a play to set up a play 4 or 5 down the road. And so that's what I'm going to kind of focus on. So don't think of it as a formation. So basically they're look-alike plays. So these 3 plays here, I call them families. These 3 plays here, the buck sweep, the guard trap, and the waggle, they all go together, and the basic philosophy on this one is, and I'll only do for the going to the right, is you're trying to get this action. This guy going straight forward, and this guy going that way. And so off of that backfield action, these 3 plays exist. And the ideal is that the backfield action should look exactly like that on all 3 plays. Obviously the blocking changes, and that's why reading the offensive lineman is the key to everything. Okay, the next series off of the buck is the fly sweep series. There's a lot of teams that are using this in place of the buck sweep. So when you scout your team, you may not see buck sweep. If they're not doing buck sweep, then treat the fly sweep philosophically the same way, because there's a sister play, the down family. The down family is a sister play to these plays. So the buck sweep or the fly sweep is setting your D end up to run down and be kicked out. Okay? So you kind of know the fly sweep. And so basically what happens is they're going to run the fly sweep here, and then off of that motion, they can run everything else. They can run that motion and run the guard trap that may or may not have already been taught in another series. They can fake all this, and the quarterback can waggle out, okay? They can fake all this, and if your guy's really flow, he'll reverse pivot, fake the fly, and run the belly underneath. And then the really nasty play is when you combine this with down. When you combine this with down, we pull our play side guard to lead block for the fly sweeper. So this DN sees a fly sweep coming at him and a guard pulling at him. That wing would be over here. And he's not important, so I'm going to draw him out of the picture. Now what they do is when your DN sees this action coming at him and he starts widening, they're going to change this pull here and run you right up underneath. And so it's really hard for the DN because he just sees everything coming at him. So again, it's all about putting that guy in conflict there. And that's where the fly sweep stuff is kind of the same thing as the buck sweep. Okay, off of that, by putting your DN in conflict, then they come up with the downs family. And what happens with the down is, it's just what I just explained. So what they're doing is, they're going to take your DN and see what he does. By this guy on buck, we're focusing right here, buck and down. Off the buck and down, their tight end is gonna down block. Now in our case, we have a D tackle there, and this guy's gonna go down to the nose guard. And it's why I might get O-line coaches, they want to double team on these plays, and I tell them they can't. They've got to get that down action, because you have to teach your D lineman to squeeze and keep those 2 guys off the linebackers. Well, by that squeezing action, now a 140-pound halfback can block your 250-pound DN, and he's using his good technique against him, okay? After you've had a lot of success, and maybe with motion, after the offense has had a lot of success, and with motion, maybe you decide to start slanting your DN, or maybe your DN on your own stops squeezing and he's worried about this 140-pound halfback that keeps hitting him in the hip. Once you do that, once your DN does that, he's going to step like he's going to down block, go right around it, and we're going to kick that guy out, and then we have a crease open right there. So if he squeezes, they're going to run buck. And if you widen him or slant him, they're going to run down. So not that you can't do either one, but just know that action is what you're going to get. Let me back up before I erase it. If you decide to slant both guys with the motion, now what you're going to get is guard trap. So if you slant both, you're going to get guard trap. If he squeezes and he widens, you're going to get down. If they both squeeze, you're going to get buck. Okay, so that's all the plays off tackle, although buck sweep can be ran to the weak side also. The belly series tends to be the weak side, and has the most plays. And what they're trying to do, they're going to get this. They're going to get that action there. It's a weak side iso play. Your tight end's over here. It's a weak side iso play. And then off of this motion, they'll fake all that and run the counter back that way. That's the trap. They'll bring this guy out and try to log and fake all this and run option. And then with no motion, they'll fake all this up inside, and bring him around for an outside handoff. This is a really tough play to stop. And that's what we're calling our belly sweep. And then, of course, they fake all this, get this halfback in the flats for belly pass. But all of those plays, all 5 of those plays is predicated off of faking this weak side iso, kind of sucking you in and getting you a sweep option pass, or getting you to flow and coming back with trap. A lot of wing teams have evolved and included the midline veer into their attack, which really creates problems for the defense because you've got to play really assignment football, and the assignments are different than what you would assign for the wing T. And so if they've added the midline and veer in there, man, your kids are going to have to be really dialed in. And if you know that team's coming up, my suggestion is to slowly, the week or 2 before, or 3 weeks before, or definitely in August, give the kids some just basic introduction. Just kind of like sneak a buck sweep in, sneak 1 or 2 buck sweeps in every week leading up to that opponent. You know, sneak a down in, sneak a midline and veer in. In August, when you really are doing generic concepts, and if you've got a wing T team up, obviously you do if you bought this video, and obviously it's a team that you're having trouble with, otherwise you wouldn't have bought the video. I would dedicate some August time to these concepts so that when you got to that week and you only have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday to prepare, it's not new to your kids. You want the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday to be a refresher, especially if they're adding this in, because this is going to cause more problems. Okay, the formations. Obviously, when you're putting it into huddle and your scouting report, you've got to get your formations, okay? This is the basic wing T formation. Some people call it 100, 900, depending on where the tight end is. To me, this is just tight right, okay? And you have the wing, so you've got that one. Then what they're going to do is they're going to take your tight end and they're going to keep him in a 3-point stance. They're going to keep him in a 3-point stance and just move him out. Actually, the wing will probably insert a little bit. This is only maybe a 6 foot. Not 6 yards. This is like a 6-foot split, and they're trying to get angles here. We don't bring our D end out. We say now that guy became the tight end. This 1 yard difference of being on line scrimmage doesn't matter to us. So now this guy, we treat this guy like the tight end, and our stud gets on him, and then our hawk or our panther gets 1 by 1 off of this guy. Okay? They're wanting you to get your D end out here so they can run down and buck up underneath. If you see that, it's because of pass and fly sweep, okay? It's some of the plays, it's really hard to run belly because the guy's got to step back and insert. And you're going to get a lot more motions out of this formation. So now you can key up the snap count off the motion, and you got some motion keys. So when they get to this, I think the defense has some more keys to key off of. Okay, when they're doing this, they're doing it, the tight end's covered up. They're doing this to get your corner out, so that's one less person they have to block, okay? But if they're doing this, they're probably wanting to run right here, okay? That's usually the tendency is they're trying to run off tackle. But be careful. I'll do this so teams think that and come back with counter. And then the loose formation, which is really common, especially the teams that run the midline and veer. This is a formation I've kind of evolved to, and I run this one a lot because it gives you so much flexibility in the passing game and forces the teams not to do any roll coverages and trying to cheat. And they've got a four vertical threat. Okay, so those are your basic wing T formations. Let me back up for a second. Out of all these formations I just showed you, they always have the ability to have two wings, okay? They can always have the two wings, even in the tight heavy. They could go tight heavy wing or tight heavy here. So when you put it in a huddle, here's my suggestion. I would put it in a huddle as two different columns. So I would have your formation, and then I would have backfield, and I would enter them into huddle separately. And the formation is basically what the tight end and the X are doing. So you have that formation I showed you tight, what you're seeing now is tight heavy. If you have two X's, I call that loose. You might just write two X's, okay? Stuff like that. The backfield action now, back up for a second. See, now the backfield action, that's a right. If he was back here and he was up here, that would be a left. So you've got your right, left. Okay, you're up, or sometimes, like my D coordinator likes to put double wing. Okay, and actually kind of an interesting wrinkle. When a wing T team goes to trips, it's their two halfbacks that have to go out to the trips. So for example, if we were going to go trips, a tight end trips, it would be these two guys that would have to go out here like this to do the trips. So when we put this in a huddle, trips for us is a backfield call. So now I can go tight, trips. If there was two X's, I'd go loose trips. Okay, and I'd say trips left or trips right. But for us, that's a backfield call. So I don't know if that helps you. And then if they're like me and they run the pistol here, sometimes they want to offset their fullback. Let me get to that up formation. Sometimes because they're going to fly sweep, they're going to take this fullback or tailback and offset them. So now I call that a near and far, whatever you call a king and queen. To me, the king and queen doesn't make any sense. To me, it's near the tight end. Far is away from the tight end, or just an L and R. So if you treat these separately, when you do your huddle reports, the reports come out really nice, and you can start matching up what backfield they like to do with each formation. Okay, for the tight end wing. Anytime we have a wing, we bring our outside backer up into a 1-by-1. A 1-by-1 off of the wing, again, I like to stack my linemen, and I take the nose guard and bring him 1 yard back. So he's gonna step at the center, but out of the corner of his eyes, he's looking at these guards, and he's reacting. I want him down the line of scrimmage. He's not gonna penetrate that night. He's gonna be down the line of scrimmage on all the pulls, He's gonna step inside, and that's his physical, boom, he stings them, and his visual is eyes inside. Of course, they're reading the guards. He's got a triangle read. They've got a triangle read there, okay? I'm going to go through all this in detail. He's reading that guy. If that guy goes away, he reads number 2. If he goes away, find the opposite number 2. He's reading this guy. If this guy goes away, find the other number 2. So that's how we would line up to our tight end wing. We're not going to do a lot of crazy things. I might roll some coverages based on tendencies. I'm really going to be very nervous about slanting. I want our kids just to play base defense and read their keys. Okay, we talked about this nasty set. Nothing changes. He lines up on the wing as if he's a tight end. He's 1-by-1 off of their nasty split. Okay, double wing, nothing big deal. Our Willie, our outside backer, just moves up 1-by-1. Nothing's going to change. Nothing's going to change except for that right there. Okay, out of loose, we stack, okay, because if you're balanced, we're balanced. So our nose and tackle are going to scoot off, and they're going to be reading. Yes, I lose some pass rush ability, but wing T teams aren't passing teams. If it's an obvious passing down, then I'll bring a backer and do something, okay? I'll tell you what, this alignment makes it real easy to stun on third down though, right? I can crush this stud and bring him off the edge. I could bring him all the way through hard and cross the guard's face and bring him through as they get in their pass sets. So actually, you know, I could play some games there, okay? So that's what I'm gonna do against their loose. I'm gonna stay in cover 3. The 4 verticals doesn't bother me because they're reading this guy, so when this guy comes off, they're going to step into his face and reroute him. And what they're going to do actually is kind of opposite of our other defense where we're inside shade rerouting. This is going to be an in, push him in. So they want to run 4 verticals. I'm going to step and push those guys inside so our backers can get up into that. And this guy just weaves. Our falcon on 4 verticals will not break. Our falcon on 4 verticals will not break until the ball leaves the quarterback's hands. It's not going to be any pump fakes or palm off. The ball has to leave the quarterback's hands before he commits to one way or the other. So I'm not too worried about 4 verticals.